My name is Jesse Lavoie, and this is the Vapes4Vets podcast brought to you by Namaste Technologies. I'm joined today by Kory Zelickson, the co-founder of Namaste Technologies. How are you doing today, Kory?
Great, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on. I understand that you were one of the guys who designed the original Grizzly Guru.
Correct. That's right.
So, you mind telling us a little bit about this vaporizer?
So we started with the design of that vaporizer a few years ago, and with some experience in selling vaporizers before that, we kind of put together a few things that we thought were important in what we wanted to have as a vaporizer and representing ourselves. So, different. The most important thing was that you could use it with different types of materials. So, as we know, the industry has changed a lot from flour to concentrates and waxes and oils, and even like infused liquids. And these are all different things that you can vaporize, like we were talking about earlier. And we wanted to have a unit that was able to be used with different types of products. So that was the most important thing. And then from the perspective of using it for dry herbs, when we started designing it, and even to this day, what we stand behind is using inert and sort of organic materials. Like instead of having plastic in your air pathway or in near the heating chamber or metal, our idea was to focus on ceramics and glass to give it the most pure flavor. So that was the logic that went into the design of that unit, and um, they've been in production and sold well for a couple of years now. And we've made some updates on that model, and we're also in the process of launching a new vaporizer in the next 4 to 6 weeks that'll stay true to the same concept of being able to be used with different types of materials, but we'll have some other updates on it too that will be improvements on the original.
So, how does it work? Is it all one setup for flour and concentrate, or does it switch out?
It'll be with different tanks. So we've seen sort of a trend which is really interesting between dry herb vaporizers on more on the cannabis side of the marketplace, and then e-cigarettes, which we all know are very popular as well, that are typically used for nicotine infused liquids or e-juices. So there's been some vaporizers that have been released over the last little while that sort of start crossing boundaries between e-cigarettes and vaporizers in that capacity. So the idea with it is to be modular. So the base unit that you hold or that has the battery inside of it is basically a variable voltage battery. So when you're using liquid tanks, for example, if you have infused liquids or oils or waxes that are going to use those types of atomizer tanks, the unit will detect that you can change the voltage on it and the wattage on the coil. But when you swap it out for the dry herb chamber, it'll look very similar to an e-cigarette tank, so it's discrete. But what happens then is, of course, when you're vaporizing with dry herbs, you want to have the control over the temperature and not the voltage or the wattage. So when you have the dry herb chamber connected, and it's going to be with a standardized 510 thread that's really common in the industry. So when you have that part connected, then you're going to be able to adjust the temperature for your dry herbs, and it'll change automatically when you put on the different tanks for oils or liquids.
And what can your customers look forward to with the? I know it's nameless right now, the Guru 2, but compared to the original.
The name is still up in the air. Like we're taking feedback on it. Our Grizzly Originals is sort of representative, I think, of our Canadian heritage as a company, and it's along the theme. Like I think this vaporizer is designed to be very sort of like utilitarian. It serves its purpose. It's multi-purpose. And those are the thoughts that I think about when I think about the design of that product. So something along that line, but we haven't definitely haven't discussed enough or agreed on the name officially yet. But we'll have to come up with something soon.
Absolutely. What are some other popular vaporizers that can do it all, like the Grizzly Guru?
It's tough because how they do everything is really the key factor. Like a lot of vaporizers, when you look at dry herb vaporizers that are also compatible with concentrates, Firefly 2, for example, or the Crafty or the Mighty, a lot of these vaporizers, which are literally the by far best in the industry for dry herbs that really don't excel in the same way with concentrates, They work well. It's different, but because these vaporizers don't reach the higher temperatures that people are used to when they're dabbing, using concentrates in a vaporizer like that way is a little bit different than doing a dab. So right now, if you were to look at all of the portable vaporizers and say, okay, which one of these can I vaporize concentrates with? I might hand you a Firefly 2, or I might hand you a concentrate pen like a Candy Pen Galaxy or the Grizzly Honey Dab, for example. And those are pens that have coils. They either have ceramic donuts or quartz coils or titanium coils. There's all different varieties, but those reach much higher temperatures, so they produce a lot more vapor and have a lot more of a direct impact on you right away. So if that's your experience with concentrates, then going to a different vaporizer like a Firefly or like a Mighty, where you're putting a concentrate in and it's sort of evaporating over a slower, longer period. Also, really nice, and it's an amazing experience to do that, especially with a unit like that where you get the low temperature flavors. But from an impactful experience on the dosage, it's quite different. So the Grizzly product would differ from those that are also compatible with other types of products in the sense that it's got the atomizer tanks appropriate for concentrates or for liquids instead of an alternative solution for it.
Sounds a lot more complicated than just lighting a traditional marijuana cigarette, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a lot more complicated, and it's part of what I think that we have to think about too with our vaporizer and with vaporizers in general, and who they appeal to and who they're selling to. We try to work with people for medical people that are using vaporizers for medical reasons, and if they might be elderly, they want to have vaporizers that are very simple to use too. So every vaporizer has its own character and uniqueness and ease of use, performance. So it's important that people educate themselves before they buy a vaporizer on what they're going to be buying
I
and
know
how.
sorry. I know over the past few years, there's been a big turn from cigarettes to e-cigarettes for health reasons. To our veterans listening, why would you recommend vaporizers over traditional methods of smoking?
For you mean when you're referring to e-cigarettes, you mean for like people that are smoking cigarettes going to e-cigs, or more for like cannabis?
I was saying more along the lines like just like there was a turn from cigarettes to e-cigarettes.
Oh,
Why would you say for medical marijuana should vets use vaporizers over traditional smoking?
yeah, that's a great question, and so that at its core is what in my mind vaporizers are. E-cigarettes are a bit different, but the idea with a vaporizer for dry herbs that you're using instead of smoking is that, however, and there's a lot of technology that goes into it. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be doing is heating your material to temperatures to just below combustion. So cannabis has a combustion temperature range. So you'll find with most people that use vaporizers, they'll turn them on to a range between like 365 to 420 Fahrenheit. And within that range, you get different dynamic components of the plant material out. So there's, at lower temperatures, you pick up more terpenes and flavor, and higher temperatures, you're getting heavier doses as you get closer to combustion. But the whole point is that while you're maintaining temperatures in the chamber below combustion, you're not actually burning anything. So it's releasing all the medicine inside of the plant without actually burning. So you're not inhaling any smoke, any carcinogens or toxins. And it's actually been shown as well, which is really interesting, is that vapor, because of the density, actually absorbs into your lungs and gets into your bloodstream faster than smoking as well. That's not considering the fact that smoke has tar that gets stuck in your lungs, which is an obvious, advantage of using a vaporizer on its own there.
And I know recently Stores and Bickle they just came out with their new medical devices. What are some of the differences between these and their original volcanoes and mighties?
The medical devices from Stores and Bickle have actually been around for a while, believe it or not. Newer though, they would have gotten the approval for the Mighty. So basically, they have a line called the Medic line. So the two products that are available under the Medic line are the Mighty and the Crafty. Sorry, the Mighty and the Volcano, which are staple products, the best quality products that are available in the industry. Volcano and the Mighty, which is an incredible vaporizer that actually got approval by Health Canada to operate as medical devices. So unfortunately, at the moment in Canada, there aren't a lot of people that get health coverage for cannabis or for vaporizers, but we hope that in the future, as regulations change and legalization, the government will provide more funding for people that are needing cannabis and want to use vaporizers. But for the moment, they're available, and they're essentially, from a hardware perspective, upgrades on the original units to get them to pass Health Canada approval. One great example is in the Mighty, the mouthpiece. Normally, you can exhale into it, and there's a one-way valve installed on the Mighty Medic, so you can't exhale into it and get bacteria inside of the unit, which could make you sick.
So it's kind of like a Powerade bottle. You know, the bottles when you could suck one way, but it won't blow back the other way.
Yeah, they're upgrades to the units that have, I think, the consideration of medical patients in mind.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, I've had the privilege of speaking with a lot of veterans during this campaign, and I've actually spoken with a couple that say they're not fans of vaporizers. Does Namaste sell other products besides vaporizers?
We do. We, as a company, like our core brand has always been Namaste Vapes, but through the process of going public, which as a shareholder, that we've acquired several other companies, and one of them specifically called Everyone Does It, does carry, a whole range of smoking products, like from rolling papers to pipes and dabbing rigs and everything as well. So we carry all the vaporizers on that site as well, but focus a lot on glassware and other smoking products.
What are some of the big names in glassware and dabbing products that Namaste sells?
Grav Labs is a huge brand right now that we have a great relationship with and really popular. We actually manufacture a whole line of glass as well under the Everyone Does It brand called Edit Collection. So, we're seeing a lot of people still buying water pieces. You have Roar Bongs, which is obviously a very famous company. So we carry a lot of high-end brand name glass, but then a lot of affordable glass as well. There's been a lot of great quality glass at good prices that's available. So we have seen changes and transitions from typical glass pipes all the way through to all kinds of new dabbing rigs and new trends in the industry, and bubblers, blunt bubblers too, which have been really popular, and the twisty blunts, which are really we've sold a lot of, and they've really become popular too. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but you can pack them up. It's like packing a blunt, but you just twist it. You twist the material out, and it's all glass. So it's a pretty neatly designed product, I think.
Yeah, I've been invested in your company for over a year, and it's been very exciting. You guys have released a lot of great press releases, had done some great acquisitions over the last year. What are some of the latest things your company's been up to?
I think in addition to our acquisitions, where our last acquisition of an e-commerce platform was Australian Vaporizers. We recognize a very strong market in Australia, and they just legalized medical cannabis across the country. So there's a lot of energy going into that from that perspective. And that was our last acquisition of an e-commerce platform. But more recently, we acquired a company in Canada called CanMart, and they're in the late stages of approval for a license to distribute cannabis and not to grow it. So for us, it's a perfect combination that we can utilize our e-commerce expertise to be able to tap into our network of customers that we have already developed in Canada and approach them with a consumable product for the first time. So I think that's really exciting and a huge upside potential for the company down the road. It's a strategy that we can implement internationally as well in markets like Australia. And so we've been really focused on that. And the facility there too is going to help us, with a new warehouse space in Canada so we can deliver quicker to our Canadian customers.
A lot of exciting things going on with Namaste, and now we got this fun and informative campaign, Vapes for Vets.
Yes.
Vapes for Vets is a PTSD awareness campaign. We're currently interviewing veterans and pro-medical marijuana activists for them to tell us about their stories and experiences. We're also offering discounts on the tools our vets need. So what are your thoughts on this campaign so far? What are you enjoying about it?
I'm really excited about it, honestly, Jesse. And because I've been involved in a lot of the customer service from the beginning of the company when I was the only person answering the phone, through to now where, Sean and I still look at every email from customers and we see what goes on, that we have a lot of amazing people that are customers that we speak to. And, I've had a lot of experiences with people that suffer from PTSD that are customers that will approach us. And, you might not realize it when you have, you make the sale or just through coincidences or an issue that comes up, and you have a conversation with them and they tell you the stories about how impactful it is and how it's helped them, where it really takes this whole concept of what we're doing and making it a reality when it's able to help people in that way. It's not just, of course, for recreational use, but it really does serve a great purpose for people to help them as a medicine or as a dispenser for medicine too.
For those of our viewers that don't know, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and PTSD is a psychiatric disorder that can occur following a life-threatening or traumatic event. Kory, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show today. I want to thank you for making this campaign possible, and I look forward to working with you on helping our veterans and raising awareness. Uh,
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Jesse. Yeah, thank you. Best of luck with these interviews. I'm really excited for you and for this program, and I think that we'll do a lot in the future.
Absolutely, we got a lot more interviews coming up, and we'll actually be touching base with our previous interviews to follow their progress as they help our veterans across the country. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Jesse. Yeah, thanks a lot. Looking forward to it.
Thanks again, Kory. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.